Welcome back to the Rave Story TV. And let me tell you something, right? This guy was one of the first people I asked to come on the Rave Story TV. It's up to him if he tells you why he didn't come on here very early on when we set it up. But for me, DJ Dougal is a very, very, very important person in the evolution of hardcore music, the uplifting vibe, the spirit of the early 90s rave scene. And I'm very proud of this man's achievements, and I'm very proud of the hardcore scene, and always take it with me. If Darren Styles is to hardcore what Andy C is to drum and bass, this man and Hixxy are to hardcore what Groove Rider and Fabio are to drum and bass. What this man has done is absolutely amazing. And what I love about him is his absolute authenticity to the roots of hardcore. Dougal, welcome to the Rave Story TV, my old mate.
Thank you very much, Billy, and thank you for such kind words. I mean, it does actually mean a lot straight away, because nice to hear. So I've got to be honest.
Well, that's how I see you, and that's what you mean to me. And I was thinking about this, and don't get too excited. I was thinking about this in the shower, right? Right. That every decade we've done things together in one way or another, whether it's in the 90s, being on the circuit together and on flyers together, whether it was in the noughties, we were on Ministry of Sound albums together. You would remix stuff, break stuff and hardcore stuff for our Ministry albums. In the 10s, when I was doing my 6 and 8 hour vinyl sets, and at Unit 9, you were one of the first people I would always invite to come and DJ with me. And then in recent times, and I say this all of the time, because sometimes people come underneath my post and say, you've forgotten hardcore to me. Mm-hmm. And I haven't, because we also do things like Bonkers at Ministry, and we have hardcore every year at Unity in the Sun, alongside some of the greatest names in jungle, drum and bass, old school. And in this modern time, you're a huge part of what we do when we put on Bonkers events. When I do my 35 years event, you've got to be there. And we have a long history that goes back. And something that I want to say before we get into the interview, I also see many parallels in mine and yours careers, because we were two of, if not the two youngest people in the era that we're from, of drum and bass and hardcore and rave music. So I'll give you a little tidbit here. Paul was born on April the 14th, 1975. I was born on May the 14th, 1975. So even though he's older than me, we are pretty much exactly
it's incredible,
same age. Yeah. And we both have slightly sillier, fun DJ names that have, in the world of coolness, weren't the coolest names, but have stood the absolute test of time. And yeah, there's a lot of parallels. And Paul, how did your love for music start? Take us right back, before rave, before dance music.
So going back as far as I can, my dad and mum were always into music. So growing up, my dad was a DJ. Every week he'd be playing somewhere. He was doing more like gigs like weddings and sort of any sort of function, birthday parties. And I could see how much effort my mum and dad put into these events. You know, he's just playing down the local pub, and he was obsessed with getting the best speakers he could possibly get. The records, he always wanted to have the 12 inches because they would be better quality than the 7. And his obsession for giving people the best time possible, I think, always came through into me from my mum and dad. So when my dad was putting discos on, and I still can't believe this was happening to me, I was most probably 3-4 years old. And when they were putting the parties on, because my mum wanted to go as well, they would just take me and they would literally put my cot underneath the decks. And while my dad's doing the disco,
Amazing.
I'm just laying there underneath. And then I remember my dad doing like sort of reel-to-reel recordings for parties as well, like when it was a real big party, and he'd be sitting there with the records, recording him, you know, pressing pause on the tape, and then this one, and then if one record went wrong, you'd have to do the whole reel-to-reel tape again. And he was just a perfectionist of giving people a good time. He wanted everyone to remember his nights. So somewhere along the line, I think it was around 1987. I was actually, no, to go back before that. This really confuses me when I think about the music that I grew up on, and it sort of triggered me into what's most probably about my journey. It's still the same. So Gary Newman is one of the first people I remember with electronic synths. I had no idea why I hated all other music, but I love Gary Newman. He'd white his face up and he'd have all these mad synthesizer riffs. And I had no idea that at the time that was going to lead me through, because I'm still someone who loves synthesizer riffs and electronic drums. And then somewhere along the line, I think it was 1985, there's a record release called Let's Get Brutal by Nitro Deluxe.
Nitro Deluxe, yeah. Cut-in records.
Yeah. And I remember I was walking this place in Northampton called Billy Aquadrone, and it was like where we all used to hang out when we were kids. So I'm 10 years old going along there, and there was the coolest guy with this big ghetto blaster, and he was doing all like the break dancing, and it was Nitro Deluxe, what was playing. And I was like, what is this? This is incredible. And then there was also the breakdance movies with, there was a scene with one of the guys and he dances with the turbo. If you don't even know the scene, yeah. And it was, was it,
Breakdance 1 and 2.
Yeah, what was it? Kraftwerk.
Oh, Kraftwerk. They were doing Tour de France.
Yeah. And it's all these songs then, they all have these little melodies, very, very, well, they're genius melodies. They're simple, but you try coming up with one of them melodies. That's like the big difference. So them melodies and stuff were going into me. 1987, I go to Spain. I was a mad skateboarder at the time. And just before we went to Spain, my mum said, no more skateboarding because you're going to break something before you go on holiday, and we're not having that. So mum takes a skateboard off me, and then I start running, pretending I'm on my skateboard, slip over, break my ankle. My mum and dad, they're like, I can't believe this. So I get taken to Spain in a wheelchair, cast on my leg. Like, they don't even know what to do with me. So one day they take me to the beach, sit me on the beach. Forgot how hot it was. I got the worst heat stroke you can imagine, because I was just left on the beach with my leg up in the air in this plaster cast. So I was really unwell. So I had to be kept back at the hotel. But then I was watching this guy, who was the main DJ at the hotel. And it's the first time I ever saw like a slip mat. And I remember it was a DMC slip mats. He had them like behind him when he was DJing. And then I saw him doing the scratching. I was like, Dad, like this scratching and that, like, you know, why are you not doing this for your DJing? And it was a completely different world to him. But he said, oh, let's go up and introduce you to him. So introduced us to this Spanish DJ. And he was so kind to me. You could see I've had the broken leg. I've been really unwell. He said, look, I'm doing a mix in the basement of the hotel where they've got like a little studio set up. Come down and I'll do you a mix. And it was all the Fast Eddie jamming Jason. Was it? I'm going to say it wrong.
Fast Eddie jamming Jason. Can you dance?
Can you dance? Exactly that. And he did me this tape, and I remember it on this gold SAX tape. And it was like, you know, to have an SAX tape, you know, where I was on D tapes when we were doing recordings, this beautiful tape that had this extra top end on it. And that tape sort of got me into DJing. Like, that was one of the real points where I was like, I'm really starting to feel a passion for this. So going through that. And then my dad's got all these decks and stuff at home, but he's given up DJing at this point. He actually gave up DJing in 1985. So now we're at 1987. And I'm deciding, right, I want to get the decks out and learn how to do this. Get home, the house has only been broken into. And the only thing they took was all of my dad's equipment, all of the decks, all of the stuff.
Do you think it's people who knew?
Yeah, 100%. So that was a real knockback. But then I was like, right, how am I going to get these decks? And, you know, like us all, we don't come from money or anything. So we've got to, like, you know, work for this. So I started doing paper rounds at sort of 13, 14 years old, every bloody morning, 6 o'clock in the morning on my skateboard, going out just to get a couple of quid. And in the end, sort of built up some money, and my mum and dad managed to help. And I got my first SL12 10 deck. And then I had this ghetto blaster, and I'd have it going into that. And then we'd have like a normal turntable going into it on one channel. So it was a left and right channel, one deck going into one channel to create almost a mixer. And then I used to use the volume control on my ghetto blaster to try and learn to scratch. Yeah. I was like trying to do it. So that was the sort of beginnings of that. And yeah, this goes on and on and on. But then we get to the point of work experience at school. So work experience, what am I going to do? I am bloody useless at everything. I've got no interest in anything apart from music and skateboarding. So mum and dad are like, what are you going to do for your work experience? And I said, well, can we do something to do with like music or something, you know? And there was a shop in Northampton called Insanity that was a really cool clothes shop. And in the day, there was a DJ there, and his name was Neil Parnell, and he used to just DJ in the shop in the daytime. So I was just before the work experience, I would go down there, listen to Neil Parnell DJ. And one of the tracks I remember him playing was Nude Photo on Nightmares on Wax. And
Rhythm is Rhythm. Rhythm is Rhythm, Nude Photo.
Oh, Rhythm is Rhythm, yeah. And it's a and again, these tiny little catchy riffs.
Yeah.
And that was like, hang on a sec, I'm loving this sort of this vibe. It's this called
Hypnotic.
It's acid, it's rave. What is this music? So then went to do my work experience here. Another bit of mad luck. The day before I was going to this shop to do my work experience, it burned down. It went to the ground.
Right.
So now where are you going to do your work experience? Dad went, well, there's the guy who used to buy all my disco equipment off. Why don't we see if you can do it at that shop that sells all the disco equipment? I was like, brilliant, maybe even better. So I turn up there. So I'm 15 years old. And the guys there are like, oh, at the weekend, we're setting up these speakers at this rave. Was
that 1989?
Yeah. So we're setting up these speakers at this rave. It's in a place called Castaways, and the event is called ESP. Now, Castaways is now, well, as most people know, it turned into Milwaukee's, but originally it was called Castaways. The reason why it's called Castaways, it was in the middle of bloody nowhere, you know, out towards Bedford from Northampton. So begged my mum and dad, can I go and set up the speakers at this rave? I'm 15 years old, and I'm asking them, can I go into this environment? Mum and dad are like, yeah, no problem. Yeah. I'm like, what? So Friday night comes, 10 o'clock, get to this shop. I have to get all these huge speakers, this massive PV rig. I'll never forget the amplifiers, the weight of one of these amps then. And they'd have like, you know, flight cases full of them. And then we just literally get them on the in the van. We turn up with this Castaways and literally get them out, lug these speakers, boom, boom, strobe, fog machine. Start going through testing the bottom end. Yeah. Going, oh my God, this is amazing. And I've never felt or really heard sub bass like at that level before, you know?
Yeah.
And you like really feel it. Going through the mids, the tops, strobe machine on. I never forget the smell of the fog machine. Shh, on goes the fog. That was it. There was no lasers. There was no other lights. It was a strobe, the fog machine, and these bass bins. The roof was most probably, I don't know, 7 foot high at the absolute most. So it's really low, intense place. 11 o'clock comes, everyone starts coming in, and I've never seen fashion like it. The people with everyone had like big long hair.
Do you remember the DJs?
It was Neil Parnell,
right,
who was at the shop that burned down.
Right,
So
right.
he was DJing.
So 89, 90. If you was, sorry, 89, 90.
Yeah, it might have been even 90 into 90. Yeah,
1990.
It must probably spot on 1990.
Yeah.
So that was my first hearing of rave music as it was. And, you know, that moment when I heard it all go on and saw these people come in, that was it. It changed my life
forever.
That moment.
That's incredible, mate. Again, just quickly, Nitro Deluxe, right?
Yeah.
My best friend at school, Anthony, he was a few years older than me. I was into hip hop, and he got me into house through Nitro
Amazing.
Deluxe. that you walking into what become Milwaukee's was like when I first walked into Labyrinth, Silver City, at the same age, like, wow. And that was it, just like soaked up, and that you are hit by that. Now tell me, right, you put on a rave when you was 15.
Yeah.
Was that inspired by that event that you went to? Tell me, I want to know, like, I want to know you walking into that place at 15, helping with the sound system on work experience, to how you get to putting on the rave that got you all kinds of madness. Like you was banned from the whole.
So that was the second one that got banned.
Right.
But I'll tell you.
I want to know about that. And I want to know about how you then first started DJing as a rave DJ.
Yeah. So done my work experience,
Yeah.
went into obviously Castaways, had that experience, went back, work experience finished, go back to school, and then go running around all my friends saying, have you heard of this music? It's like acid house. It was rave music. It was things like a DHS, House of God, you know.
Oh, brilliant.
These weird tunes. And I think Kirk's Nightmare was somewhere around that time as well.
Would have been, yeah.
So playing this to all my friends, they're all like, what the hell is this? You know, all of a sudden they're looking at me like, found like reinvented the wheel, you know. It's like, it was, and I was like, why don't we put a rave on at school to all my mates? And I was like, they were like, you mad? I'm like, now let me go back to the place I did work experience. Let me have a chat. And I'll ask them if the sound system that they put in Milwaukee's, can I have it at my school hall? Right. And it's like 10K, proper 10K. And they're like, there's no way they're going to do it. So go down and see him. I'm like, Dom, Mark, these are the guys that looked after me. Can I hire this sound system? And they said, you do this, we will not charge you. We will bring everything we take to that, and we will set it up in your school. So I go back to my school. I find the guy who was good at art, is Wayne Harris, who funny I've just reconnected to recently. Said, right, we need to do some flyers, and he just got it straight away. He embraced all the movement at 15 years old. He just started copying all of these, like the Eclipse flyers that were happening, like the Milwaukee's flyers. Just sort of copied the thing. We did an event called, I think the first one was Rave to the Grave.
Right.
So we put this, you know, so he's doing the artwork. Another friend was good at the computers. Let's do some tickets. And we're like, right, okay, £2.50 a ticket. So then we would go around all the nights, so for under 18s, there was probably like for 14, 15-year-olds on a Monday, and I'd start selling tickets and I'd start playing them music and saying, this is what we're going to do. So I went around all of Northampton, getting everyone. We hired the school college block, and I put on the flyer 10,000 watt sound system, and everybody was like, you are lying. My dad says you're going to have 100 watt sound system. There's most you're going to have is like 200 watts. I said, you wait, it is going to be a 10K sound system in our college block. They're like, yeah, whatever. So the night comes, all the kids have got there early. They're all sitting on the grass bank opposite this college block in my school. We're getting
what was the school called?
Lings Upper School.
Right, okay.
Yeah, in Northampton. So yeah, we getting all the speakers. They see the speakers coming out now, and they are like, you know, the speakers are like 6 foot tall. That's before you've put the mids and tops in. So same sort of experience. We set it up, and then they go through doing all the tests, and it was like glass on one side, and there was all this strip lighting. On the test, the strip lighting just went coming down the base. The whole building was like just going vroom, vroom, vroom. You know, so all the kids come in. It was absolutely mad. One of my best friends, who anyone sort of followed me over the early years, who I met on that night, was a guy called Gary. And he was, when I was 15, he was most probably like 20. He came down with loads of beers and everything, and everyone was just like got absolutely.
Was anyone on the old days?
I don't get that, not at that stage.
Right,
but they definitely were. I had a few beers and listening to this music, and it went so well. But the next day, school literally had me, my mum and dad into the headmaster's office. What have you done? You've run this illegal rave at our school. you and your family are banned for life from hiring this venue ever again.
Right.
So that's 15. 1 year on, 16, I'm going to do it again. This time I hired a thing called the Hesketh Centre in Northampton. It was like a mile away from my school. Went through it all again, even more now, big backdrops, you know, we were doing, copying what was happening in the raves, really putting a lot of effort in, putting posters in the coolest shop in Northampton. It was called Driver, really cool clothes shop. And we were selling tickets. I couldn't believe it. I mean, we literally sold the thing out. And then guess what happens?
Go on.
The police saw the poster on the window of this clothes shop, and they literally just said, "You are not doing this." They blocked it straight away. Before I know it, I'm in the papers saying that people were coming from as far as Coventry and Birmingham to my 16th birthday rave. What I expected is complete rubbish, but we were looking like we were going to create something really special. And that for me was one of the worst days. Well, in hindsight, no, but worst days in my life. I had to go to the event, well, where we were having the event on the day. And because we didn't all have mobile phones then, I didn't have everyone's phone numbers. Everyone just thought this rave was happening. So everyone was still coming. So everyone come down, and I just like gave everyone their money back. And like my dad's like taking pictures of everyone and stuff. And yeah, it was a moment, but that is the beginning of my journey.
Story. I just don't have you down as someone who got stopped by the police for potentially having an illegal party. Was you DJ Dougal at that point for either of those events?
Paul, just DJ Paul. That's all I had.
Just DJ
Paul. My hair was only to here at that point. I didn't have the long locks.
DJ Paul. So what year did you become, or no, how did you get the name DJ Dougal, and what was the first flyer or flyers the name DJ Dougal was on?
That happened really quickly from that point. So at that point there, because it did make the local papers, and Gary, who I told you about, who I met, who was a bit older than me, he was sort of socializing in the town with older people, and all of a sudden he'd say, "Paul, these guys, they want a cool birthday party, but they don't want like a DJ like, you know, Dave Doubledeck's, you know, wedding music. They want acid house and rave. Like, will you do it?" And I just sort of built up with my dad helping. We would go to auctions, buy more and more speakers. So I started buying my own setup, and I'd go to this place called the Crazy Coyote in Northampton, and it was in like a basement. And I'd go in there and play for like 7 hours, like doing really cool parties. And it was everyone was so much older than me. And one day I was just down there, just doing some scratching, and Murray, who run ESP, just happened to be invited to the birthday party, come in, saw me scratching, and went, "Did you set up the speakers at my event?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "And you do all this?" He said, "I want you at my event on Friday, and I want you to do this scratching because nobody else did it at all."
Right.
So that next Friday, I still was on the flyers at that point. I'm now DJing, the warm-up DJ at Milwaukee's. And it didn't take long. I think I played there about 4 times. And
was that 1991?
No, it must have been 1990 still. I don't think we'd even gone into one yet, or we were just crossing into. Murray comes to me. He's like, "I've got something exciting to tell you. We've got this event. We've got this venue in Milton Keynes, this big warehouse. Tell me about it." He goes, "Look, no one really knows about it yet, but we're doing this flight. It's going to be like 3,500, 4,000 people. You need a DJ name." And I was like, "What?" And they like, you know, looking at me with this long hair. I'm like, "I don't know." And then everyone was just like, "Dougal, look at your hair like Dougal, Magic Roundabout." You know, it was a trippy cartoon thing anyway. So next thing I know, I'm playing at Dreamscape 1991, warming it up as Dougal. And so Murray and Craig at the time, they gave me.
Amazing. Do you know what? Like I said to you on the phone the other day, and like I introduced this, there's so many things that are so similar from our ages, not having DJ names, meeting like amazing promoters, playing in people's like little birthday parties and all that. Even the same records got us into this stuff. Can you remember the tunes you were playing your first 4 sets for Dreamscape at Milwaukee's? What kind of tracks?
Oh, absolutely. Expansions, Move Your Body was what that song did to me.
Yeah, it still goes down amazingly.
Oh my God, it gives me goosebumps thinking about it. Sweet Sensation, Shades of Rhythm. And I was thinking about that track on the way here. I was thinking, you name me a record today that can create that feeling of the beginning of that song, like the way it makes you feel. Music, it was just magical. I can't explain that, how incredible that song is to me still, and how they came up with it. Oh my God. They're geniuses. Never to be replicated.
It was a timeless moment. And do you know what makes it even more fascinating? Your mood of that, like how it makes you feel and the goosebumps. You've never taken an E.
No.
Like you were just naturally in this thing. Your dad is an absolute legend, right? You're like your dad at the the Sanctuary Music return, right? I just remember I hadn't seen your dad for 10 years, and why I'm saying this, because I want to go back to that period and you and your dad, right? Like I hadn't seen your dad for 10 years. You brought him to one of our Rave Story events, right? Down in not in Islington, when we used to do it at the aquarium, right? And I hadn't seen your dad, and they behind the decks, behind the staging, out in the back, all the famous rave and jungle drum and bass and hardcore DJs were there, and your dad was there, wasn't he, at the Sanctuary Music Sanctuary reunion. And I didn't care about all the DJs. Do you remember? I was so enthralled to see your dad, and your dad is, for me, is one of the most important people in the history of this music, because he documented it all. And he's an iconic man, and he's an incredible man. And he was there at all of your first gigs, wasn't he?
Yeah, because I couldn't drive.
Explain like that bond between you and your dad, and like how much that helped you, and also like how did he feel when he started going to raves and seeing like this energy and this atmosphere, and seeing his son so young? How did that, what was that bond like with you two?
So the first thing when I started playing at the raves, because I couldn't drive, my dad would come along, and because he was always a keen photographer, doing all the rock bands, like sort of like Bob Dylan, Santana, all of these people. And my dad's story is a story in itself, and I won't even go into too much about it, because I think we're going to get him on here.
Your dad has to come on here.
So he was doing all the rock bands in the 60s, and just turning up with his camera, taking some pictures, and then next week he'd go and give him the pictures, and all of a sudden he's making friends with all of these famous, well, to become famous rock stars. So all of that sort of vibes in his blood. He comes to the rave scene, and to him it's like reliving his youth. So he was only 50 then, so my age now.
Same age as me and you now.
I always felt like he's so old being in the rave scene, and then like now it doesn't seem quite the same. But he just loved it, driving me to the gigs. He'd have his camera absolutely everywhere. And before I know it, he'd want to stay. I'd do my set, and I'm like, oh God, Dad, I'm getting a bit tired now. And he'd be like, no, I want to keep going. And my dad's character, he just made friends with everyone. Like, I mean, every time I see like Rat Pack, everybody asks like, how's my dad is. And he just started taking pictures and filming. So we've literally got everything from like 1990 all the way through the whole rave scene. He's got the garage scene. He was doing all them events. I mean, everything all the way across. God's Kitchen, he was doing them. He just got known for that guy that was, passionate about it. And what was so good about my dad's filming and stuff, he was fearless. He would go into the crowd at this big, massive drum and bass event, and everyone's like, going crazy. And he'll be in there with his camera and not care.
I remember,
in with all of the people. And he just got so much respect, I think, just because he just became, one of us, and he felt like he was privileged to be there. So he'd never film anything that nobody wanted, or, made sure it was everyone was always happy. And so we've just got 35 years of video history.
Because he was endearing then, and he's even more endearing. How old's your dad now?
83.
83. That is amazing. And he got to not only witness you go from taking speakers into an event to what you become, he also documented it, not just for you, but for like everyone, for everyone. That is just, it's inspiring. Yeah. It's inspiring to know what he done, and also inspiring to know that he experienced you doing that. Yeah. When did you first sort of like realize from like Murray giving you those 4 sets, playing early? When did it start becoming, because there become such a like a furore around you. There was like, I say this to Shane Vibes all the time, like you two were two of the first sort of like superstar DJs of our world, if not the first two of like hardcore, right? And I always say that to him. When did you think in your mind you started getting the better times and that energy started coming around you, and then you started hitting the road and becoming busier everywhere? When do you feel that happened for you?
It was quite interesting because if I really think about it, if I look back to that point from doing the first Dreamscapes and I was the warm-up DJ, I think for a year I was just the warm-up DJ, so not a lot really was happening. I was trying to do sort of tapes and stuff and, you know, sell them and try and sort of build a bit of a name, but it was very sort of slow burning. And what happened is the music started getting a bit darker, a bit more moody, and as someone who still would like to go to raves, I would be in the crowd and say someone who didn't do drugs, what I think is really, really important. So I was getting bored. I was like, what's going on with this music? I was 1 minute I'm watching, you know, listening to expansions, everyone putting their hands in the air. Then it just went and it just felt like it was break beats, moody bass lines. I was like, I'm not into this at all. So started looking for them piano records, and it was sort of like Awesome Free, Please Don't Go, you know, Sons of the Loop era that had all these incredible pianos. Blame, Music Takes You, just had, you know, such a cool track still, even though it's not completely piano-ing happy, it's just still got this emotive. So I was getting these tunes together. Not a lot was happening. Apart from when DJs were late at Milwaukee's, I would be the person who was still there and get to go on. Like if someone was, you know, had a blowout, they go, Paul, can you go on? And I was always there. That sort of built up. And then eventually, I think it was about probably 90, it could have been 93. It might be a bit earlier. I'm not quite sure. It was New Year's Eve at Sanctuary. It wasn't Sanctuary to start with. That name came later. So yeah, Sanctuary.
What was it called before?
It was just Saxon Street Arena. It just had it just didn't have nothing, but then it needed a name. So LTJ Bookham went on at 12 to 1. Now, can't take it away from Bookham. His music is cool as it can be, but it was that sort of, you know, real liquidy breaks and sort of, there's no like hands in the air in it at all. So he went on and did that set for 12 till 1. Then I went on 1 till 2. And I just literally started straight away. It was like Awesome Free, Your Love Prodigy, Sons of the Loop, Blame, and the atmosphere. It was the most incredible experience of my life. Within 2 minutes, everyone was on everyone's shoulders, screaming, the whistles, the horns. It was just like, this is great.
Love that.
It is back. I was doing not work experience. I was at school just coming out. No, I was in sixth form at school then. I went from sitting there doing trying to do a BTEC media, and I'd have a little diary with me. And I think, oh, right, at this point, I've got a little mobile phone, to getting 5 bookings every Friday and Saturday for years from that one booking. It went from 0 to 100 overnight. Yeah. It went bang.
Love that. Because that's what I was saying, like at the start of this interview, your authenticity and passion for the uplifting vibe has never, ever, ever faltered from the day I met you. And there's always like this thing that hardcore wasn't cool, and it went to this like more breakbeaty, more cutting edge stuff. But actually the coolness is in the authenticity that an artist or a DJ or an MC holds on to from that original feeling. And the coolness is in the fact that you realised in amongst all of these super cool dudes and all these names that had already been up at the top around you, you realised that this rave ethos and this uplifting ethos, this still needs to be here. Yeah. And for me, that is something that absolutely needs to be celebrated. And I remember, like, do you know what? You're going to like what I'm about to tell you. Is when I first met you and Shane, right? And I actually found a video that your dad took at Labyrinth 4 Aces in the latter end of 1994. We're moving forward a year. here, where you're actually playing one of my music is moods on dub plate, and I'm on the mic for you, and it's your first time, one of the first times you ever met us and played at Labyrinth. But I found another video and that your dad took at Labyrinth's 6th birthday at the Rocket Holloway Road. And I always say this to Shane. I'd been DJing at that point for 5 years, right? Same as you, starting in 1990, Elevation Expansions. And in that 5 years being in the heart of London, even though thousands of people were coming every week, every month to hear us every weekend, no one had ever asked me for an autograph. Ever, right? This Labyrinth 6th birthday, you and Shane were both there, right? And it was a changing of guards, because people either went the jungle drum and bass route or went the breakbeat piano route. And Labyrinth had gone that way. It ended up going that way. And undoubtedly it was a brand new era for rave music, a brand new era for me with Labyrinth, a brand new era for you guys with Dreamscapes and Helter Skelters and all that. And you and Shane undoubtedly brought a fresh new crowd, right? And I did the last set, as I always did, for the first time in my life. You and Shane waiting there at the end, everyone's screaming for more, and people are coming up asking for autographs. And I said to you two, wow, I've never had this in my life. And you both turned around to me and went, we get this all the time. And that was the point in which I thought, is this what happens outside of London?
Right.
And you two inspired me to go, well, okay, let me go and check out what is going on around the rest of the country. And you really, I always really admired you guys for your belief in what it was that you was into. And that cannot be understated. That cannot be underestimated. I don't care how cool jungle, drum and bass, house DJs are. I don't care. The coolness is in you guys stuck to your guns, and you created atmospheres that were many times better than the cooler dudes or what was cutting edge. And that for me has to be celebrated. And I used to listen to tapes of you guys where the noise around your sets from the whistles and horns was ferocious.
That's the word for it.
And then when I first ever played at the Sanctuary with you all, like I'd been used to like Bagley's, Desire, Labyrinth, Four Aces, Rocket, Astoria, where the vibe was London centric. It was like, and I loved that. Of course I loved that. It was my heartbeat. But when I first played at the Sanctuary with you and Shane and Slipmat, I was like, wow, this is like a stadium.
Like, it's incredible.
And that is what you guys had been creating out of a few of you's visions of going, no, we want to keep this uplifting energy alive. And you've got to be proud of that.
Absolutely. And it's just so amazing. Like Slipmat, like the music that he was coming up with, thank God, I mean, like the SMDs and stuff. Oh my God.
I always really like celebrating Ramos Supreme, Sunset G and Donna Grassi, because they added those vocals to it.
Sunset.
And I always think you guys, like look, you made the Dougal and Evolution track, which I always say I love that record in '92. He was making really cool breakbeat piano music. You had Mike Slammer and Red Alert. You had the early Fulton Evolution stuff. Even Chrome and Time had their higher level label with some fantastic music on it, Vibes and Wish Doctor.
Oh, well, yeah.
And it was just, do you know what, Paul? It's a moment that I'm really, really proud of. Like, absolutely. And an era that is like, it should not be forgotten. It should not be understated, because these events, whether it was Helter Skelter, Dreamscape, you all used to go to World Dance and play in between the coolest cutting edge music, because your music was cutting edge, your music was cool, and it created it created an atmosphere. Why do you think you stuck to that and you never? Of course, you moved it on as time went on, but why do you think you never faltered from that?
I think it goes from Nitro Deluxe, Let's Go Get Brutal. The stuff that got me in at the beginning was a really catchy hook that would get stuck in your head and you can't shake it. And through all the years, no matter where the BPMs are, what's going behind it, it's always about a really good hook and like a vocal sample, or, you know, we start recording our own vocals. But yeah, the ethos just hasn't changed. It's just the style behind it. Nothing has changed at all. It's a hook, it's a riff, it's an interesting sound. That was what was really important to me, to try and find that sound that was so unique. I think like Bomb Scare, and they sampled, what was it, Neon.
Don't mess with
his beat.
Was it Don't Mess with the Beat?
It was his beat, and not many people know where that comes from. You know, again, everyone can sing it back. So my big ethos when I'm in the studio is, if you can't sing the riff back, it's overcomplicated. So I always want, whatever I'm coming up with, I want to know that if I pull the fader down, you know, someone can go da 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 da.
Well, you certainly got that with Party Time, didn't you?
Yeah, Party Time. Da 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 da. You know, these are the sort of things. It's just stuck.
Well, when I say as your mate and someone who's worked side by side with you in every decade of this, when I say I think that you and Shane were the first superstar DJs of our music that I come across. Did you feel that energy from people from when you walked into a rave and you were signing people's jackets and records? Because you were young, mate.
Yeah.
You was 18, 19. Did you feel like a star? Did you feel like how did you feel?
I mean, it was overwhelming. It absolutely was. And it was a lot to process, definitely. But I still remember when I was going through that stage, is what people always say to me: can't believe you're out here having time for us. You know, a lot of the other DJs, they wouldn't stand here with us, and they all seem to appreciate that. And, you know, doing that thing, going out with your crowd, your people, you know, they start supporting you because you've give them time and they give you your time. You know, it's a transaction. So, and I've still kept with that today. So if I'm playing a gig, you know, 9 times out of 10, unless I'm not shooting off, I'll always try and go out, see the people, have a chat with them. And, you know, so many of the people, they've been followers for 35 years.
Yeah.
So, unbelievable.
Yeah. I'll sum this up, right? Two things. When I did remember when you did the 6 to 8 hour, when I was doing the 6 to 8 hour gigs, and you were one of the people who come and did it with me, right? People travelled all over the country for you. I remember this big crew of Liverpudlians coming down. So they were there before I was there, and I DJ'd 8 hours, and then you jumped on. Do you remember with me? And the amount, they were just so excited. And the last time you come Corfu for me, Sonia and Jay, and you wasn't even DJing right on this night, and we had our event on the beach, the White Party in the night, and you know what my Sonia's like, she don't really say much. She's like, she's serious, isn't she? You walked in to this party, to the White Party, and you just got mobbed. And Sonia was like, do you know what she said to me? She went, Paul's more popular tonight than all the DJs who are playing, and you still have that about you, because you represent people's amazing youthful memories from that era. Yeah, and it's great, mate. It's great to see, and like I can't say I couldn't be more prouder and more enthralled, and I think it's a great lesson to any DJ or music person or producer, to when you're authentic, and like you say, you genuinely had time for people, and genuinely, like, you made sure that you would stop, you would talk, you would play the music that people want. And it absolutely, it completely and utterly shone through. Something else that you've been brilliant at, as well as like your own vibe, is you've always been great at bringing people through. You know, I think of Gammer, I think of Hixxy, Essential Platinum, because you were already up there, and then Hixxy come along, and you two created a great bond. Yeah. Thoughts and Styles. Tell us about that, what you see in people and why you take people through on your platform and your journey.
So at the time, I think I was just looking for, I'm 17 years old. I'm making new friends, and all of a sudden I'm playing an older shot, and I meet Hixxy, and he was, I think, just starting to DJ at that time, and we got on so well. It's just like, I've got a great new friend.
It's so natural.
It's so fun, and we just like literally hit it off from day one. And I knew that he was passionate about the music, and he was on the South Coast. I knew that I was on, the Midlands up. And then one day I was just like, well, why don't we start a label together? I could see his strengths where I had some weaknesses. And I was thinking, right, okay, well, you take care of the South Coast, I take care of here, and we'll share this label. And he was very good straight away with like the logo side of things and branding. He's very good at that. So we just started that. I saw Force and Evolution, and I just loved their music. And I'll never forget, like, I think it was as they were turning, when they become Force and Styles, I was saying to Dave Pratley and Mo, you've got to book these guys.
He was a massive advocate for them.
It's like, they are the ones. And I remember him, I think it was Dave phoned me up going, oh, Paul, just to let you know, I'm going to book your mates.
Yeah, brilliant.
And, and that was that. And then I've always looked for talent. I always know where I'm sort of, my weaknesses are. And I'm always looking for other people that can sort of, like, where we can come together, where I can maybe bring this part of my experience and they can bring, you put it together and you get the whole picture. And then Matt Gammer. So I was making some music in Northampton with this producer, and he was, to be honest, he was great. He was a good producer, but he was always blinking, letting me down. He was always late, and I was really passionate about sort of getting in the studio. And on some days, like, oh, my ironing lady's son, he had someone do his ironing or something, said, can you listen to this track he's made? And I swear, because the way I am, it took me like 3-4 months to get round to listening to it. And then when I listened to it, I was like, hang on a sec, there's all terrible, but there was one little bit I was thinking, I don't know how to do that. And I played it to this Steve, and I was like, Steve, how do you do this? And he's like, oh, well, I don't know. He's trying to do it. I'm thinking, how's this even possible? So I'm like, right. So I go round to Matt's house. It's like, it looks like something, it was so dark. It's like middle of the day, curtains are bolt, across still, bed not made, absolute, mess over in his bedroom. And then Matt, I go in, open the door, and I'm like, hi, Matt. I said, I'm Paul. He's like, yeah, didn't even really say a word. And it was so thin. It was like unbelievable. His skin was like translucent white. I hope he doesn't mind saying this. His hair was just like totally cut across the front.
I remember him when he first started DJing. So like that. Like, yeah,
Matt, like, pleasure to meet you. Can you just show me how you did this? And he just went on the computer and went, and I was like, you what? I was like, how did you do that? He goes, oh, I don't know, I can just. So he just like step writes where we're all trying to play the music in. He can see it. He doesn't even need to listen to it. He could just write it in. And then I came up with another piece of music for him to copy. I was like, can you do this riff? I don't know if it was something like Robert Miles' Children, one of these sort of piano lines. I said, can you play that in? Literally with the music turned down. He didn't even need to listen to it. He just went, da, 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 go. And there it was, like a flipping replica of this piano line. I was like, Matt, you are working with me every day.
He's a genius.
Yeah, he is a genius from this day onwards. And he used to come to my studio about 5 miles from his house every single day. And it got to the point where there was a track that we were happy with that was good enough to go out. I was like, right, what are you going to call yourself? And he's like, DJ Gamer. And I was like, right, no problem. Put the record out, had it all pressed up, comes back, and it says DJ Gammer.
Oh, what a story,
my dyslexia absolutely paid off, because Gammer is definitely a better name
than Gamer. Dougal and Bunter.
So my dyslexia, on one hand could be my downfall in certain areas, was a winning moment.
Yeah.
And, and that was it. And we worked together we still work together now, but we had like 15 years of just relentless. We were like in that studio every day, and we've just gone back over our tracks. We've got over like 350 tracks we've made together that are all pretty up there. I mean, it's quite amazing what we achieved.
How important is it in success and longevity to lift others up who inspire you rather than hold people back?
You've got to, I think I saw something recently, I think it was Jay-Z saying, you always have to look to your youth. And I still do that. I was telling you earlier about this Genesis party that's in London, like seeing how they look at music and understanding how they picture. We're 50. If you don't listen to what the 18-year-old, it's like when we were 18, the way we saw the world differently to a 50-year-old. You imagine how different that was. So you have to see what they're seeing. And when you bring that to the table now and you come together, that's when the magic happens.
Yeah, I'm just going to jump forward because I've got something going through my head, right? But then we're going to go back. So I've got a lot of questions about the Sanctuary days and that period. As we talk about the modern day, and as we touched on earlier about like super cool DJs who are on the cutting edge, right, of drum and bass and the darker, more futuristic sounds, but you had this sort of like passion in them. You know, I remember you was like, it's in 93, 94, you was genuinely going to World Dance and Dreamscape, playing records from 91 and 92. So you were igniting the old school vibe in that moment of cutting edge music. In this modern age of drum and bass, never before has drum and bass been more like the hardcore that you, Gammer, Force, Styles, Hixxy pioneered. Like I hear so much music now where previously you might have had a little 8 bars of kick drum a few years ago. Now people are putting in full songs that could be you, that could be Darren, that could be Hixxy, that could be Jenna, that could be Donna Grassi, that could be Cat Knight, could be any of the people, Scott Brown, that you've all worked with. And I always say, listen, I heard Andy C on the radio at the weekend with Charlie T. Charlie T, do you know what? Charlie T, Radio 1, I messaged her last year to say, I love the energy of what you're doing. It's like watching Helter Skelter for 6 hours, but in a 1 hour set where you have, in them days, you'd have a jungle DJ, drum and bass, hardcore, She messaged me back and she said, actually, that was a huge inspiration to why I do these things. But I hear even your Andy C's being so close to what you've always believed in, you know, putting in big, massive, soaring pop vocals and emotive vocals in with music, huge kick drum elements. And I really think that like drum and bass right now is really influenced by you guys and what you did and pioneered.
It's really interesting. When I was hearing like Sub Focus, the way they would create, what they brought back to their music is they had hooks again. Yeah. Whereas they didn't really have hooks for a long time. And all of a sudden you've got Sub Focus, you know, all these songs, they've got these incredible riffs, and it sort of came back to the same ethos. You say chords, vocal breakdown, build up, and then as it comes up, you got the kick drum going, where they were dropping the kick out for a while and then it would just go very, very dark. Yeah. It would actually come in with a kick and an off bass, amazingly, with a little riff over it for most probably 8 to 16 bars, and then switch to the drum and bass again. Yeah. But I think the first song that we did that we realised it was crossing over into that world is when me and Gams and Darren did a song called Party Don't Stop. And there's people like Pendulum were playing that out in their main sets, and we were like, what? We just couldn't believe it. And I think that's, you know, as a hardcore record, it's done like 21, 22 million streams. A hardcore record.
A hardcore record. Yeah, like Mosey the other week, he played a tune and I said, Mose, that's wicked. That's like hardcore. And he said it to me. And I listened and it was like, wow, half of this record is Dougal and Gammer. Like literally, that's how I hear it. And I mean this when I say this, right? When you was going into the Sanctuary in 96 and you, Darren, Jenna, all of you, all Scotty Brown, Briskenham, everyone's making these big vocals. You was going into the Sanctuary, seeing 3,000 or 4,000 people go sing these songs back, put their hands in the air, right? Sorry, drum and bass DJs, if this offends. But it took some of you 25 to 30 years to realise that energy that created. And now I genuinely see like a multitude of drum and bass DJs doing that thing that so many people wanted to laugh and ridicule 30 years ago, Paul. I've got goosebumps of how proud I am of my friends that you see that. You knew what that meant to Sanctuary, what that meant to when we used to go up to Resurrection, when Fusion did their big events, when you'd all get invited to the main arena at World Dance, right? You can't stop. And especially in this younger era, when you've got 5,000, 500, 10, especially at the festivals, and when you see the coolest drum and bass DJs put Aha in a tune, Aha, that would have been something that you wouldn't have even done.
Exactly, we wouldn't have done that.
Not, DJ Dougal would not have put Aha in drum and bass, and people are doing it. Why? Because what are they getting when they're playing at festivals? Reactions.
And it's got a catchy riff. And
that is your that goes straight back to you and Nitro Deluxe. People love being in that dance floor and singing a big old song or a big old riff, and even the biggest, coolest drum and bass DJs in the world really, really are taking an ethos that you stuck by and pioneered.
And I think what it is, they've realised that life has been hard over, coming out of all that COVID shit. When we come out of that, that's when I noticed the change, because people wanted to have fun. We are fed up. We're being serious, trying to be too cool. We want to be in a party and we want to enjoy it. You look at most of these parties, especially in the house world, I don't even see anyone as enjoying themselves at all.
Right.
And there can be thousands there. They're just there because they're told it's cool.
Not the old school house.
No. Not the
50-year-old house. I'm not having that.
No, definitely not. No, but the new stuff, a lot of it, the kids are just bored out of their head.
Yeah.
Whereas all of a sudden you come into our world, the 18-year-olds of today, they've sort of grown up on like mum and dad's playing our old rave music. So it's 20 years on. So they've got there's something in their mind that, it captures from back when they were kids, and it's been put into the music. Sort of what I love about a lot of the drum and bass guys, on the whole, they're doing it still in like a cool way. It's the sounds they're using are amazing. The bottom end on the tracks is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
But they've just got it pounding for a bit, so people can let off some steam. We don't just, and drum and bass, even when it's on the half beat, it's still got some bloody energy
to it.
Compared to you look at a lot of the house and it's just people with their phones. And honestly, I love the music still, but it's just not, you're not going to get endorphins being released.
Yeah. I love the, watch, whether it's Darren Styles, who's like such a backbone to all of us, to see him go off doing what he's doing, but then in equal measures, like someone like Mosey in drum and bass, who would have ever have thought that the mold would be broken up, he would be in sequined outfits and it's so good to see post COVID. And then I was talking to BK yesterday on the hard dance, because you was also signed to Nucleus and stuff, and he's always really excited by Hannah Lane. He's always saying this girl's playing my tunes, and it is really good to see a new era where there is, whether it's harder drum and bass, harder hard dance, hardcore, where these vibes have traveled to brand new generations and eras and younger people, and there's new messengers as DJs, but they've got that spirit.
I mean, that's so amazing that Hannah Lang, for example, we've just signed some tracks to her because the music is not much different to my hardcore music. It's just taking it down 15, 20 BPM, and all of a sudden, what is it again? It's a catchy riff, it's a catchy vocal with a kick drum that's pounding away. So we've got that market as well. So Hannah Lang, and the amount of really big house DJs that grew up on all of us, it just blows my mind. Like Jamie Jones, wrote in DJ magazine that he grew up on our music and stuff. And
love that.
Jamie Jones publicly put that he grew up on our music in DJ magazine. Thank you so much, because you just don't expect it.
You know what I'm proud of? Our uncoolness, because our uncoolness that once people said, they're hardcore, Paul, can I blow our trumpet?
Yeah.
We're actually fucking cool.
We're all right.
Because you've got the biggest house DJs in the world and hard dance DJs wanting to work with you or shout you out. I'm off playing some of the coolest heritage house events, and we live to tell the tale. Why? Because we never faltered from that vibe that we had in 1990. So going back to the old days, just give me some of your favourite ever raves and your memories of like. So as the people who are watching who love that early to mid 90s, the Dreamscapes, the Skelters, the Kinetics, the Dial, all of it, the Bowlers, the Resurrections, the World Dances. Just tell us some of your favourites and explain them and what you see. And
I think it must be Dreamscape 8. I can't remember what year it is, but that seems to be one of the, I suppose, most special sets of my life. And it was the mixes that I sort of created with like Sons of Deloop Far Out. I used to mix it into Blame, and the way where I used to have to drop it, and I didn't even know about bars then. I didn't understand. All I knew is I was counting 1, 2, 3, 4, and then just chucking it in. But the way these records used to mix, and when the piano hit on Far Out, and then the sort of the screaming bit on Blame happened, and they happened at exactly the right moment, and that atmosphere that brought. God, it was absolutely incredible. So, and I had quite a lot of them mixes then that I sort of worked out, and it was really a special time. So that was without a doubt a key moment. But then to start traveling around the world, going to Australia, playing like the Sydney Olympic Stadium, and they're like, sort of, first of all, it's 20,000, and it went to 50,000, and you're like, what is going on? But still, one of the weirdest ones for me is when I turned up into Japan, and I think that was most probably about 94, 95. And then when you went to Japan, nobody spoke English at all. You couldn't read anything. It was just all signs, and it was madness. And they picked me up from the airport, take me into Tokyo, and I walk down the high street, and there's people with like these boards, like with my picture. I swear to God, it must have been 15-foot, huge version of me going up and down the street. And because I had long blonde hair, everyone would come up to me and they're like stroking my hair. I'd be on the escalator and there'd be someone stroking my hair. I look like an alien to them, you know, right. So out there. And when I DJ'd, I'm on vinyl then, so I'm taking the record boxes out there. And when I played, it went so mad. And I always thought hardcore would be a good music for Japan because their energy is just so incredible. And was playing, and I had to have like 4 or 5 people holding the decks while I'm playing to stop the needles jumping. It was that insane in there. So that was a real magic moment. But it's all been incredible, really. I appreciate it all. I mean, I like the gigs still from 200 people. Can still be more pleasurable than 10,000. It's like
sometimes
the
really
intensity,
can.
And I feel like that's sometimes where my biggest skill comes out on, getting these people all of a sudden could just go and walk out the room and sit down, and you keep them. And
there's really nothing important. like an intimate club. There's nothing like it because like sometimes we do play bigger stages where we might be further back, and at first, I don't know about you. But you can come onto a bigger gig where you might have 5,000, however many thousand in front of you, but you have got a slight disconnect, and then you have to feel yourself into this crowd. Yeah, that can be slightly tougher. But I love because like you get these debates of like put real DJs back in corners where no one can see them. Me and you have been there, but we've also been like people act like you can't. You're only a real DJ if you can't be seen in a sweatbox. But then what was Sanctuary? Yeah. And everyone can see you. We're comfortable in either. Yeah. But them little ones, the little intimate ones, are not to be.
I like being
underestimated.
Like literally where I can touch the crowd, where the decks are here, and then my people are us hearing it.
And I love that.
And then you get into it together, and as you're bringing the mix in, you just get.
Everyone can feel that. They can feel the energy. You know what I did the other week at a festival? I got to this festival. It was House and Classics Centerfold stage, and it was popping in there. But I could just feel that I wanted to pop it more. And we was just slightly back on the stage. I got so many people up on the stage.
Exactly.
That's a promoter's nightmare, isn't it? And a DJ, especially the days of vinyl. But I'm like, I want people on this stuff because you want to feed everything.
Yeah.
You want to feed everything like back. Who's your favorite DJs in that era of the 90s? Who did you really admire?
I was really into Sasha.
Yeah.
I used to go and see him at the Eclipse, and I think he was most probably where I got the love for piano from. Laurent Garnier as well. And then I think what happened was I started going to Switzerland a lot, and I started hearing techno. And that's when I was like, oh, like this kick drum, like the 4/4. And that's when the kick drum started. We started putting it into hardcore and sort of having the breaks there, but fading them out, but realizing when you had a real big stomp. So that stomp come from Europe, really.
Yeah.
Sort of to mix it together.
That's interesting. Sasha and Laurent Garnier.
Yeah,
you wouldn't have thought DJ Dougal, but it's funny where we take inspirations from, innit? It is. Paul, so in the late 90s, hardcore did take a downturn.
Absolutely, yeah.
It really, really did. And I always say, like, there isn't many of us from whether that's 89 or 90 or 91, who, whether that's in the original DJs who went on to be jungle drum and bass, or original DJs like us who went on to do hardcore, stick with the old school and the rave and the breakbeat. Not many of us truly are lifers who never took time out, never took time off, ever. Yeah. It was just always music. And I remember that period of the latter 90s where hardcore did come out of this humongous, 97, 98. It was huge. Yeah. It was huge. How do you cope and navigate from something having such a furore around it and such an energy? How do you, as a creative, as a visionary, as someone who lifts everyone up, who you probably don't see yourself like this, but you have been a natural leader in taking people with you. How did you navigate through that era? That it was a few years to then all of a sudden that HTID era, that uproar era, and it just exploded again. Explain that downturn.
So I remember it well. It was like the garage scene came to the forefront of everything, and it was so different to hardcore. I think it was it Artful Dodger and Rewind, that song. I just all of a sudden remember everyone going mad to that, and we're like, oh God, that's it, we're done. And we just had to just sit back a little bit. We're still making music. We're trying to find a new sound. We're playing, with all the same technology, the M1, the S950s, S3000s. We're all on this sort of trip, just trying to make new music. Nothing's really happening. In the back of my mind, all I can think is music is the same as fashion. It's like 1 minute everyone's wearing skinny jeans, 1 minute everyone's wearing baggy jeans, right? It sounds like such a simple thing. But if you think about every fashion, it just goes in circles. Yeah. So I just kept looking and thinking, right, it's going to come. And we did. It was a few years of absolutely nothing. And then you'd get a few seeds and you'd feel like something was happening, and that would sort of get you going again. And then it would drop off. And then I think the trance scene actually came up, and because of the trance scene, the technology had changed what everyone was using. So instead of these M1 pianos, instead of doing the riff on the piano, they're using
old leads and all of that stuff,
viruses. So the second that all of a sudden gave the music a new lease of life, and we're like, right, okay, if we do these sounds over our music, our kick drums, just change it up a little bit, not a lot changed. It's still kick drum, it's still an off stab and that. And all of a sudden, it was like a new lease of life. And then we just kept going with it. And I'll never forget the day. It literally felt like, again, it was another change. It was HTID. It was up in Birmingham. I think it was called, was it Code Den or Air? I can't remember what it was called out of the two names. Went in there. I think there was Styles and Breezy had done a Future set. Hixxy done Welcome. And all of a sudden, it just went bang again. And it was so quick. It's like we were down. Then all of a sudden, it was up.
Yeah,
It's
the
so
power
bizarre.
of all your self-beliefs and your talents. Because you all just them names there you've mentioned, you were all very, very tight, very, very close, and you never
Yeah.
lost your belief. And you were all incredibly talented as well, that you could all, as music people, you were all doing other musics and writing music and producing musics. And that's what music people do,
Yeah.
because you can't just be always at one tempo.
Yeah.
You know, you like to experiment in the background, but it was just, I always admired the belief of you all. And I remember getting booked for a HTID last set. Ian booked me for what did they call it? A Morning Glory.
Morning
set.
Glory, yeah,
Morning
yeah,
Glory,
5 till 6.
Morning Glory. And they just booked me for a random one. Like, I'd been doing my old school sets, my hard dance, and Hixxy booked me for, and it was like, I walked in, Air, I think it was called. And again, you lot had created that stadium for Raw. I was like, wow. But it had taken you a good, would you say 3 or 4 years to
maybe
get it
even longer
to get up to that point? Did you ever have any doubts in your mind that you?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I was terrified. I'm thinking, what am I going to do? What am I going to do if this doesn't pan out? So, in life, from actually always having a bit of money and stuff, it soon, dried up, and you're thinking, oh my God, this is tough now. 1 minute you're like traveling the world and stuff, and then it just stops. So for it to come round again is incredible. And what I like now is we're not like where we had these huge ups and downs. We just feel like we're in just a nice level now. It's just consistent. It's not like the huge peaks or the huge lows. It's just we're consistent. And that's so nice to just have consistency, because how many DJs that you think are DJs of today that are coming through now are still going to be DJing in maybe 5 years' time? They're so here, gone tomorrow.
More DJs.
There's so many minutes. It's for them to sort of establish a longevity to keep going. It's just, if you're new, unfortunately, there's going to be another new guy and another new guy. So amazingly now, I like our history and our heritage is paying off, and it's stable. So, and we're doing some incredible gigs still.
That late 90s, early 2000 period, and I've thought about this a lot, whether it's like some of my mates with their big jungle drum and bass labels, whether it's hardcore mates like you guys, whether it's mine and Sonia's own experiences. A lot of us by the late 90s, early noughties had done it for like a decade, 10 years. And in mine and yours cases, we'd started when we was 15. Yeah. And I've always felt that there was this late 90s, early 2000s, I don't know what you think of this, where a load of us had just started so young and been thrust like amazing record sales, like our first ever wave of compilations before we got the really big ones, making like ridiculous money for 16, 17, 18, 19, 20-year-olds. 1 minute in mine and yours cases, our dads are driving us around in no time at all. We've got 30 grand cars. Think about it like that.
Yeah.
But I felt a lot of us in the late 90s, early 2000s, whether it was through bad business, music changing, fashions changing, a lot of us, if not all of us, because everyone's stories of longevity have to be paved with hard times. 10 years after a lot of our births, all of us experienced some form of like, this is worrying. And I felt it was that like late 90s, early 2000s, whether it was like, go on, I do want to spike your brain.
Key point to that, what it did. And I remember speaking to Stalsy about this as well. Like, we all went from that high of happy hardcore to nothing. I remember Darren saying to me, all of a sudden, he's walking back into his local pub, just feeling like, all down in the dumps, I'm feeling down in the dumps, gone from this. When it came back, and you'll hear so many people say, bloody hell, did we appreciate it. We grabbed it with both hands. And I still, to this day, and I needed that drop to make me, there is never a gig. I've never missed a gig. 5 hours up the road, even if I'm not feeling great, I appreciate it. And so do all of my peers. Like, we appreciate it so much, and you just can't take it for granted. And that really helped things, because we really, when we're having these moments, we're like, we are grabbing it with both hands.
It's essential, Paul, because like we when you've been that high, whether forget even the fact that as young men we could buy 30 grand cars.
Yeah.
That's just a byproduct.
Yeah.
That's irrelevant to
Yeah.
us, really.
Yeah.
It is irrelevant to us.
Yeah.
It's that buzz.
Yeah, we had purpose in our life.
Music. It's the purpose of the music. And I think as we've all got older, we remember those hard times, and that's where we become wiser.
Yeah, definitely.
And far more sort of like cleverer toward the future. And yeah, that era for you guys with the Clubland albums and it's just the sales and the HTIDs and your you know, whether it's Westfests and all of that.
100,000 on a Clubland album. We were like, what the hell? It was like, how has this happened?
Yeah.
So that's why we were in the studio every single day, just grabbing it and just making the most of it, and really just haven't stopped since. So
yeah. And you had in that period as well of that sort of Clubland era where like you say, albums were selling 100,000 more. Some were selling more, right?
Yeah, I think they got 140.
You also had like you've written some chart hits for other people. You have penned some. Tell us some of the.
So just because of my personality, as long as this whole journey we're talking about, I've always dabbed in and out of other things just to change things up and see what I can learn from that music. So funny enough, God's Kitchen, I ended up doing their album for them.
I remember.
What's quite bizarre. Luck and Neat, I ended up doing a track for them. Would you believe? Luck and Neat, like what? So I did a track for them, and just sort of, I suppose it was about 7-8 years, 3-4 years ago, we did something. Me and my partner, who I work with a lot now, we did a track for Warner Music, and we sort of covered like "Tell Me Why," and it was we had like a bit of chart success with that. Then we did a track for John Summit called "Human," and we hit like 80 million streams on that.
Wow,
so,
how does that feel to say 80 million streams?
Yeah, I mean, it seems incredible, and it's just always that funny thing. What I think, Star Wars' most probably had it more than any of us is like, when you're in the hairdressers or somewhere and all of a sudden your song comes on in the background still. I mean, Slipknot obviously still gets it at the time, but it is quite a bizarre feeling when that you think how these songs come about and how they're like a seed of an idea, just a little idea. And then all of a sudden it's all over the world. It's just, that's the bit I find hard to believe.
Yeah.
When I always love looking back to when we're just trying to work it out and thinking, is it any good? And the sort of the trouble we're going through, like is it going this way? Is it going that way? And then it all comes together. It goes from this into this.
Do you know what? It feels like only yesterday I put your. It feels like yesterday that we worked together and put out the 25 years of Dougal album.
That's 10 years.
It's 10 years ago, mate. That's how quick. Do you feel 50?
No, not at all. I don't feel 30. I think I live like I'm as young as I can in everything I do. I try to bounce around light. I try to be, very sort of. I look after myself, eat healthy, but I like to be young at heart, as my dad is. Yeah,
I always feel that my philosophy on it is we do something that we've always done since in mine and your case, since we were 15, on a professional level.
Yeah.
And whether we play new music or old music, it's always to capture a spirit of the early 90s from when we were so young. So the real world happens. We all of us, every human being has our complications and our ups, our downs, the little niggles and the outside world, and we lose people and real life happens. But in this creative, I guess in the modern world, we're in a creative space. Yeah. And you're always creative, and our friends are always creative, and that keeps us so young.
Yeah.
And if appreciating the fact that we had bad times makes us grateful.
Yeah.
The fact that we do something that we love that keeps us so young makes us even more grateful as well. And this music's been really, really good to us. Something I want to touch on, which I started seeing you drop it in your stories about ADHD and like all of a sudden you started becoming really open about it, and even when we speak on the phone, you're really open about it. It's because you've said to me, Dan, you've got ADHD. My kids say it, to me. Sonia says it to me, and I'm like, you understand it.
Yeah.
Explain ADHD and how you got it. Like, not how you got it, because I don't know.
How
you need to educate me.
Yeah. I mean, so the funny thing is, what you
ADHD.
hear all the time now is everyone who's got ADHD now thinks they're an expert in advice. You've
Right.
got it, you pointing it out. But the one thing I want to say is you find your people, and I like buzzy, fast people. I can't hang around with people that are low energy and they're just like miserable, like down, defeatist. So our personalities, both identical, positive. Let's make this happen. We are like boom, boom, boom. So going back from like when I first started, all this crazy stuff that I'm doing as a 15-year-old, not being able to sit in a class, but then being able to put an event on and have all these people. And then if you look at the music, what's the biggest giveaway? Our music never gets boring. If you compare it to, I'd say, music with people that are just, you know, a normal way in life, they can listen to the same thing for quite a long time. Whereas hardcore is literally 16 bars of this, 8 bars of that, 16, just jumping around, because we get bored and we won't actually accept anything less than something that's really bloody good. It's got to have something. If not, we're gonna lose interest. So along the way, I realized I was struggling with actually starting anything. Well, actually I start it, and then 2 minutes later I'm getting bored and I'm on to the next thing, and then I go here and I go here. So a lot of the way I make music, it's not just always on one song. We're maybe creating 3 or 4 songs all at the same time, and then we've worked out, this is the good idea, and then maybe we pull bits from here, and you start realizing, no, I'm definitely not quite the same as everybody else I know, apart from the people like you, me, Hixxy, right?
Yeah.
We are very similar. And eventually I did go to the doctors, and I said, look, I've got this thing. I feel like everything I'm about to start is always a mountain in front of me. And then he's like, listening to my speech, and he said, you've got pressured speech. I said, what do you mean? He goes, you talk too quick. And that was the first thing. And then I went to the specialist, and they said, you are running at 100 miles an hour. And because you are running so fast, the amount of energy that you are burning continuously is why you actually feel exhausted a lot of the time. So it's a really weird thing. You look at me on the outside and you see all my energy, but you don't realize that then after something like this, I will go bang, because I've expelled so much. And speaking to Hixxy lately, and I'm like, Ian, why is it that when we get a parking ticket, we don't open it? We leave it on the side for a month, and then it turns into this thing. Oh yeah, see, it goes and goes and goes. Exactly. And
it drives Sonia insane.
It's like we leave these really important things, unfortunately, in life to the last minute. But we're really good in the other side of life. And that's why, you know, it's good to have a partner who's the opposite to us, so they can help with our downfalls, because there's not a lot of people that could all of a sudden do what you've done here, bring this podcast to life, to do the record labels that you've done over the years, to do the events. And that's all driven by we can't be bored. We hate being bored. For us, being bored is the most painful thing,
it really is, mate,
on the planet. I mean, what do you do to drive someone mad? Just stick them in a room, lock the door, you know.
Yeah.
So you start realizing this, and, you know, like I say, got diagnosed with it. I've got a medicine for it. It's called Concerta, what they gave me. But the problem is it can take your shine off you, because all of a sudden it sort of calms me down and it flattens me off. So I only take it occasionally if I really, really need to get my accounts done, if I need to pay some speeding tickets and deal with everyday life. And, you know, this stuff is mundane. Why the hell do we want to be dealing with spike?
Yeah.
I got done for doing 22 mile an hour in a 20. I'm like, what the hell?
I got because it is all these 20-mile speeding.
Yeah, drives you mad.
Speed limits now, and it's wrong. It's there.
Yeah.
It's there
Yeah.
to earn money out of
Yeah.
people, right? So I think I was it was actually the Sanctuary weekend of last year. So that weekend I had something in Surrey on the Friday, Sanctuary on Milton Keynes Saturday, and then I was up in Leeds for Rejuve on the Saturday. I have got 4 speeding flashes in that weekend, right? And I'm just like, whatever. And, you know, Sonia, me kids, my mates, ain't you worried? Whatever.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Come on, let's do a podcast. Why do you think I do 2 radio shows a week? And it's it is mad hearing you talk.
Yeah.
And earlier we were talking, or yesterday, and you were talking about procrastination, and you said to me, "Oh, you might not understand this." And I said, "Paul, I procrastinate all the time."
Yeah.
And you couldn't believe that.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it, because what you show outwardly, and maybe you don't see it with me because you think, oh, he's doing this record, he's doing that. But I have major stops where I can't do anything, don't do anything. Then all of a sudden I go through it, and then I'm like a lunatic for it, and I'm doing absolutely everything, and then it stops again. So it's really bizarre. And it's the same with Ian. And one more thing that I think me, you and Ian have in common is, really think I'd like working for someone. I don't like being bossed about what to do. And I think that's part of it as well. And that's why I don't like stupid things in the law getting done for 22 in a 20 at 4 o'clock in the morning when the roads are dead. Fine, if there's a school out and there's kids out, it makes sense. Give me the fine.
Yeah.
But when it's 4 in the morning and there's no one on them roads, it should be a different level of points. It should be 1 point up to 30, 2 points up to 40. Make it fair.
Yeah.
But this country isn't fair, and it drives me insane. So I really struggle with these.
You're talking about not being able to work for anyone. The only person the only two people I'd take orders from is Sonia and my mum. I've got no problems with that. And also, when I told you I get anxiety, you couldn't believe that either.
Same, I get it. Yeah, my whole life.
And it is funny, and Dougal, Hixxy, me, you put all three of us as personality traits in the same. But does Ian understand it like you understand it? Or
in the last 2 weeks, yeah. And literally last month, I was saying to him, Ian, the reason why, because I think he was going on about speeding things and not, holding things off. And I'm like, Ian, you are identical to me. And all of a sudden, the penny dropped with him, and he's like, right, I'm going to the doctors. Yeah. And I've sent him these things like these podcasts about ADHD. And it's like, oh my God, my whole life. He used to do like a mix for like a Bonkers mix. And this is why we're all the same. We'd have 2 months to deliver this mix, and we're doing it the night before. 24 bloody hours. We've had the whole and leaving it to the most important thing in our life. And we've left it to the last moment. It's like, what the hell are we doing?
I have things like radio shows, right? So I do 2 radio shows a week, and sometimes when I stream from home and don't go to Centreforce, or and I do it from our house. The important things that get you online, hooked up to Centreforce, doing artwork that goes into like a live stream on YouTube. Yesterday for Music Mondays at 10 to 12, I'm only just designing the artwork and logging into the internet, because I was literally in my I just got out of the shower and I was doing all the important, and literally I was on in 10 minutes time, and I can just manage to go bam,
bang. And so that's what we do.
There you go, bam, let's make it happen. Whereas the moment it's like something really, really important and legal, or that accounts.
Yeah.
Paul, see if you can identify. We're having a real personal conversation here. When the first time people started saying to me, "You realise you need an accountant," when I'm like 17 or 18, you realise you need an accountant. So my friend gets me an accountant. Go down. We're sat there with all these flyers and the gigs and all this, and I was just sat there listening to this lady, and I'm just thinking, God, this is depressing.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
Why am I here? Yeah, who, you know what I mean? And
exactly the same.
And my experiences with another thing, Paul, and it's always blown anyone who we work away, like anyone we work with away. I could go into, back in the days of ministry when we was all signed to ministry, I'd go in and there'd be these meetings and all these big wigs at the table. I'd be getting up off the table looking at, oh, what's this on your desk? What's that there? Oh, right. What?
The inquisitive.
Yeah, whatever on the deal.
Yeah.
Of course we're going to mix the fucking hours.
Yeah. What else?
Yeah,
what have we?
Yeah, why am I here?
Yeah. It's just part and parcel. But I love explaining that to, you know, sort of people hopefully listening that just sort of go, you know, they can identify with it and say my dyslexia is absolutely terrible. When I write a text message, I check it. I think it's perfect. And these are like important messages to people. And I look back and I'm like, someone's gone in and jumbled them words up. It just literally looks like someone else wrote it. And I just can't believe it.
You said to me earlier, you showed me a flyer that we're both on next week, Weekend in the Woods. And you said to me, Dan, I'm sure I was on this flyer twice earlier when I looked at it. And then you look like, what's happening? I'm only on it once. And then you come back like 5 minutes later in the conversation and went, no, I am on it twice. Look, I am. I told you. And it was like
it disappeared in my. I don't know why. It's so bizarre.
It's fascinating. Yeah. Like I've never, other than my children and Sonia going, Dan, we think like there's something going on.
Yeah.
You're the first person who's like made me actually think about it, who's gone and like got your own help for it.
But I would say accept it, embrace it, number one.
Yeah, that's the thing. Surely it's
understand it. Yeah, it is absolutely. That's all I'd look at is accept, embrace, and say the only time I'll go need a medication is when it's something where it's going to get me in a lot of trouble if I don't do my accounts or speeding. If not, it just calms me down and everything would just be like, oh, you know, probably be like I'm on my marijuana one. But it's a stimulant they give you, but it makes me feel like I'm, you know, I'm on dope.
Right.
What's so bizarre.
Yeah. You're very entrepreneurial as well. And you're very kind of like, you know, and I think, does that come from the time of when you had it hard and you was all worried about where hardcore would...
Yeah, and I think it's something to do with the ADHD as well, because I'd say, you know, Hixxy's always been the same. Again, you know, he's doing the Raver Baby, HTID, everything you were doing. We're all, again, so similar. Even without the hard times, we're always quite buzzy and active, always. So there's a bit of both. But yeah, having hard times, you know, I never thought I would still be DJing now at 50. So I always made sure I had a nightclub in a restaurant that I did the whole design for, literally built it with one of my friends.
Remember, that was a beautiful
place, that was absolutely, that was both one of my proudest things that I've done outside the rave scene. Had that for, I think it was like 7-8 years, but again, you noticed the trends and I knew exactly when it was coming to that trend was going to burst, and I sold it immediately. I was like, right, gone. Thank God, because then it just dropped off a cliff. So I've done that. I did property. I was doing up properties along the way as well. What I think's most probably been the best thing I've ever done in my life, you know, from back in the day. I'll be doing it myself, painting the bloody walls, fitting kitchens. You know, I've always been quite hands-on. And I do like that from, you know.
Do you think being good with other business outside of music has given you even more freedom within music?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the property side of things, if there wasn't like a sort of a passive income rolling in the background, when I've been on hard times, it would have made things more difficult. So having that allows me to always concentrate on my passion, that's music. So again, I'm just, again, very, I'd say, lucky that we steered the ship correctly.
Yeah, because when I speak to like a lot of up and coming DJs or producers, or people who might be struggling, the one thing that it's easy for me to say in hindsight, but one thing that I try and like educate people to get to is, if you're in a place of freedom and not desperation, so that could be if you've got a job and you're financially free, and then you can get in and make your music or concentrate on your music without pressure.
Definitely.
That's when music flies.
100%.
When you make music to make money, when you DJ to make money, forget it. I don't know if I speak for you or whether you're going to agree with this, is whenever in my younger years, and I would never do it now, whenever in my younger years I tried to do anything in music for money, it always failed miserably.
100%. 100%. And we'd get like quite a good record deal with something, say with this more poppy stuff and that we were doing crossover, and all of a sudden they're like, we need the second single. Oh my God. You just literally, it's like you go empty inside. The second you have to do it from that perspective, it just doesn't work. It just has to happen naturally.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than pressure to make music. You cannot create art under pressure, I don't think, not the right art anyway.
Organicness is just the key to this. And like, I think we can tap into 1990 and 91. I often look back to being 15 and 16 and think, if I equate that time to me now as a 50-year-old and take that ethos of carefree 15, 16, passionate, and add that now to this. That is the actual, that's the root
100%.
of it.
You can experiment. If you don't have that freedom, you won't experiment, and then you're just going to create something that sounds like you've just copied someone else's record. You need to be the guy who's like going to do something that's so different that people will listen to it at first and go, what the hell's this? And then all of a sudden they're like, hang on a sec.
Yeah.
This is a bit different.
With such a big brain, you've got a big brain.
Oh, thank you.
You've got a big, fast moving brain. You've got an absolute talent for writing music, both then and in the modern day and age. I mean, Essential Platinum was a huge label. Your eye for other talent around you. You've had the ability to have a great record label in the 90s and noughties, but you've also got the ability to work for major recordings labels and create huge hits in the streaming era. As a 50-year-old man, to move with the times, that's not always easy.
That's definitely...
That's not always easy. What's the difference between making and releasing music then to making and releasing music now? Like give us a guide to how different things are from 1995 to 2025, going from 2,000 or 3,000 records to 80 million streams, and the depth and the difference within it all.
I mean, there's definitely a lot of layers to that.
Good.
What I used to love back in the day, we could just jam out a track, stick it on a DAT, didn't we? That was it. There was no digital desk even. It's like once that mix down's done, that was the moment. Now it's like you go back, oh, the kick drum's not right. No, it was there, done on that DAT. You would go down, you would press it. What we'd do, we'd go and get 2,000 white labels done or whatever, go round to the record shops, like, yeah, you want to take 20 of these, 20 of them. And you would actually sell, a couple of thousand records.
Yeah.
Like once you sort of establish yourself a little bit, quite easily. So that was a real magic moment for us, and I loved it, and it was just so hands-on. Now you're fiddling with the track, you go away for a week, you come back, you put the mix down back up on the desk again, well, on the computer. It's like it's all being saved. You start over-analysing it. The bit that most probably made the track good, you start undoing it because you're playing and messing around with it too much. So you're actually sterilising the track. Things are becoming too clean, it's too polished. So then I'm like, we're trying to get back in and roughing it up. So then say you get the track that's actually good. Well, then if you're trying to get it into, say, out of the rave scene, if I'm doing a track like that, the competition, because everybody can make music at home now, like these record companies are getting thousands of demos a day, and how you're going to get your demo to stand out against everything else, it's literally a miracle when it happens. So to chase that dream is really, really hard. And I don't chase that dream. I just dabble and then put stuff in there. And sometimes it might take 6 months. And say we just got something with Doof recently, Hanger Lang's label. We've just had something with Armada. We've got something with Ministry of Sound coming. But it's just sort of teasing it in and just being patient with it instead of chasing that dream. Now, luckily, on the hardcore side, with Stylesy, Gams, we've still got our fan base, and that's incredible. So we do the tracks back to the old school original thing. You go and DJ that track out at an event, and that's what I always like. What's more important to me than anything, you go and play that track out, and immediately it tells you this is going to be big or not. And when you've got a big one, right, okay, we're going to release that. Fortunately, you don't have all that magic of what we used to have, going to the pressing plant with a big lathe and, all these big knobs and like seeing it cut into the actual acetate, what was so magic when we all cut
amazing times.
Music house,
amazing
these
times.
Like watching it actually happen. So you don't have that feel, what I'll always miss. But we do have a quick route to market now. So now we're like, okay, then this record feels good. We just played it out and we can get it out onto Spotify really quickly and, hopefully generate streams. The only hard thing is them streams, it takes so many streams to generate any income. It's unbelievable. So again, if someone thinks they're going to make money out of streaming, that's almost like, no, that's just secondary, because it's all about your live performance is key. And the making music is to sort of to get you the live performance, but generally don't rely on that to make money. Whereas we did used to actually make money out of pressing the albums and stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a bit there, but it's just not.
You need a really big one.
You need a big.
It's in them tens of millions of streams, and I guess it's like any, back in the day, if you had a record label and had 10 records, one, maybe only two would be humongous anthems.
Yeah.
And they would break out from the 2,000 records and maybe end up doing 10,000. And then on compilations, it's the same with content.
Yeah.
In my world of content, where I could every day share a video from a gig or a tune that I want everyone to know from the past. You could put 10 bits of content out a week. 2 of them may hit 2 million. The others might be 10,000 or 20,000. I guess that's the same. Promotion. How do when you sign your tracks to a major label now? Back in the day, well, how like raw and basic, but so endearing was you having a DAT, giving Slipmat production, me, whoever, the DAT, we cut it, we play it out, it gets on all the tape packs, everyone wants the record, bam.
Yeah.
So simplistic.
Yeah.
How now does when you have a track, them labels you mentioned, Ministry, Armada, Hannah Lane, they're such big modern characters how does a track get promoted now?
So the main thing they want to do is get one of these big top DJs to play the track. But again, it's so difficult, even when you've got a machine like Ministry of Sound behind you and they know all of the people because the top guys, to get it actually onto the dance floor is really difficult. As all I can say is it's so hard now. There's the ethos on that is actually the same, just getting it out onto the dance floor, but doing it, my God, is it? Even with the biggest labels, it's just so hard.
I guess really it's always been like that, though, hasn't it? But now you've just got so many more people to compete with. Same as
80,000 tracks a day apparently get uploaded to Spotify. That's what I was told in the last count.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
did you all hear that? Yeah. 80,000 tracks a day get uploaded digitally.
Yeah. So you try and cut through that noise.
Damn.
Yeah. So that's why the majors are struggling. They are definitely, it's not easy. So, do you know what? It's back to sod the majors on the whole. You're better off doing it in-house again, like we did in the old days. We weren't using the majors in the old days. Back to where we were, just your fan base appear, can't beat it.
Yeah, we're very fortunate to have such fan bases based on heritage and the fact we're so active now. You've made a lot of tunes, right? Give me 3 of your personal favourites that you've made then, now, like things that are really endearing to you that you're really proud of, regardless of sales, regardless of streams.
Can You Feel Real Free with Shane vibes?
Everybody free. I'll still play it out today.
Such a magic moment. It was so incredible for us. I mean, 1 minute we're making it in rollers skate rink at 3 o'clock in the morning and we're like, just having the time of our life. And then we've done the track. We had no idea if it was going to be big or not. I think we did it in like 4 or 5 hours. We didn't really know what we had. And then remember playing at Dreamscape and it just went.
Still goes down, mate.
So that was a really incredible track for me. And then stuff with Styles I've absolutely loved. There's a track called Home that we did that when I play it, I really love. Most people won't even know it, but it just means a lot to me. I think Party Don't Stop with Gams and Darren was obviously incredible to see how it was getting played in the drum and bass world and stuff. And there was one of the weirdest songs. We did this song called Stay Young. And when TikTok first came about, nobody had heard of TikTok. No one I knew what it was. And someone sent me a link. Have you seen this? And it was used as one of their first challenges. And they literally had on TikTok, you had to do this weird dance. And then at the end, you had to do a backflip, right? And people would like fake doing the backflip, or they could do the backflip. And that was one of the first TikTok challenges. And Stay Young was the track that they used. And it was amazing for us. Now, like that track just went, all over the world and did things that we could never believe.
That is incredible, isn't it? And I guess really because of your relentlessness in making music, you've got all of that all of those tracks out there and all of that repertoire.
The archive just goes. We got a film into Getting to the Greek and film with Russell Brand. That was a weird one.
Yeah,
Never
film.
I remember we had a fax machine, and all of a sudden we had the fax come through with Universal on it. I'm going, Gams, what's this from Universal? And I pull this fax out. We would like to use your track for this film. And we were like, what? And they only needed like sort of 10, 15 seconds of it. And the money was like life changing. We were like, what has just happened?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it doesn't happen often, but their moments are just incredible to think back about.
Yeah, I remember that was such a big thing, wasn't it? When you got on, what was it called? Get Them to the Greek with
Greek.
Sasha.
Yeah. And what's the, I can't remember. I know it was Russell Brand in the other one, Sasha.
Yeah. Big film.
Force.
Yeah, that was such a big moment in our world, wasn't it?
Like,
When that completely like come out, and it was like, that's Dougal and Gammer's track. And what have been your favourite mix albums to mix? Because you've mixed some great albums over the years.
I think I really Bonkers 3 always stands out as being sort of a special one, because that was the first time we've done an album when we're still seeing it at #1 in Tesco's. Like, how has that happened?
Yeah.
You know? And then obviously getting on the Extreme albums, like we were sort of getting all our tracks on there with Stylesy and stuff was amazing. But yeah, the Bonkers have always been really
iconic,
special.
aren't
they?
Yeah.
The
whole Bonkers thing it's like a movement. It's like it means so much to people.
Coming up, signing the sleeves from like 25, 30 years ago, people have got the CDs and bringing them up. I'm like, wow.
Yeah. What is your, if you could pinpoint your secret, right? There's 35 years, unbroken, never faltered. Yes, you said you've been worried and like a little bit, oh no, but you dug your heels in, you didn't stop. What is the secret to lasting for 35 years, doing something you love and never wavering from your authenticity in anything you do?
So when I say this, everything I hear anywhere else about music and art is the opposite to what I'm going to say. What I always find interesting, and I do understand it, and I think where the difference is people get confused about doing something for money and doing something because you believe it's right. So where I'm going with this is, all that's ever mattered to me is the people in front of me. And when I'm making a record, I'm imagining that I'm there playing, and how is that track going to go? Now, if I'm just doing like, right, what's the crowd going to do? Yeah. Right, if I'm going, what are they going to do? Bam, bam. Right, so I'm imagining what is the response. And so not only I'm imagining that they're going to be able to put their hands up and tap inside with the riff, I'm then thinking, right, how can they sing along to it? So, you know, whatever the big riff is, I mean, I just can take even any of Styles's song, because he's the king of it. We've Come Running. He's just got this lick. The second it goes, everybody screams it, everybody sings it. So I always look at, again, this is coming from looking at songs from the 80s. They were the great at doing like these big chant records that everyone like, Don't You Want Me, Baby? Don't You Want Me? That sounds like it's a pop record, but the ethos is the same. You want people to be able to sing back and get involved. So that is without a doubt, I want the crowd to be participating in what, so we're in it together. Not, I just sit here, I make the music purely for me, and then I'm going to play it and I don't care. And that's what I hear a lot of artists say. They just make it purely for themselves.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't understand that completely, because if the people are not enjoying themselves, then what have you got? I don't know. So that's where I stand.
Yeah, I agree. We started this to entertain people.
Yeah.
That was the whole thing. So you're playing younger events at super cool places like the Outernet, which is one of the best venues London's ever seen.
It's in the world for me, almost. It really is incredible. It is
in the heart of the West End, opposite where Astoria was. I played there for Centreforce, and it is like, wow, really, really good venue. So you're playing events that've got younger people in. You're playing absolute heritage hardcore events. Do you think the people our age who are coming out are more receptive than they've ever been? Because I see it in my world of old school and classic house and acid and that. I think people of our age are more emotional and more into what we've done than ever before.
Absolutely. I think that sometimes I play for promoters and they're so worried that the music just needs to be purely just the old stuff. And I'm like, no, our people are so open-minded.
Yeah.
If it's good and they'll enjoy it and they'll like it being broken up. They don't just want to hear everything they've had on that tape pack or, you know, whatever they have, you know, USB, Spotify list, you know, they want to hear a few things to break things up, you know, it's all that sort of playing with people, again, the balance. And they are so receptive. And what I love is that I've got my 40, 50-year-old ravers are going mad. And then, my God, when I look at this new wave that I think they must be like 18, and I think they look at us like the way people used to look at punk music, all of a sudden, hardcore rave is so edgy. You don't hear it on the radio. It is underground again, in that sense that it's hard to hear it unless you know who you're looking for. You're not going to put on Radio 1 and hear like, you know, a track that me and you've just done together. You've got to go to the events again. And that excitement, because it's cool to them. It's creativity. They listen to not the old house, the new house, and it's just monotonous. You know, you've got one groove and it's just sort of stuck in it. It just bores the hell out of them. They want to be like, they're literally headbanging.
Let's have it.
They're headbanging when I'm in there. I mean, I was DJing at one gig. The girl literally jumped up onto the deck. She's swinging her arms in the air and she's like grabbed hold of the phonos to save herself and pulled it out. I was like, but it was all part of the fun.
I got visions of that video where someone jumped on stage and pulled the entire deck.
It wasn't far off that,
right?
But that sort of freedom, the rebelliousness,
the furore.
I love freedom in every shape and form. And I think things now have become so like clinical, and you can't do this, you can't do that, you have to stand here. It's just no. We want to go mad. We want to feel like it's our time. That's what it's.
The original rave ethos. What about younger producers? You know, you're saying younger promoters. Is there new producers coming through that you think, yeah, go on, you could be the next Gammer? Yeah,
and when I know there's someone special is when it's like, don't quite understand this, but then I see it and I'm like, right, this is like. And what the weirdest thing is, say this event called Genesis. One of the lads there, he did who puts the event on, did a remix of one of mine, Gam's track, and it's like such a noisy mix down compared to music today. But when you play that out, it's got so much energy. Like when you listen to like the Prodigy, the way it's all like sparkling, it's all messy at the top, and you put like a really well produced track on in a producer's eyes, and it's this kick and bass, and it's very spacious, and everything's in its right place. Soulless.
Yeah.
You know, all of a sudden you have this noise in there and it's like mixed not quite right. You know, the vocals too loud, the hats over here, the rides are messy. It's energy, and it becomes authentic again compared to this clinical where everyone's using the same hats, the same kick drum, heard it all before. It just feels woolly and dead. And then this stuff comes on, it's like, wow.
Yeah, that's I'm like that with my DJing on like the old school scene and the heritage. I call it the heritage house scene, which feeds straight back to the late 89, 90, 91 elevation expansion, the tunes that you've mentioned. And I go there and so many of the DJs are just playing remixes of these classics in this ploddy, techie, and it's just like just no.
It's numbing, isn't it?
And like, you can't beat when a tune is rough, rugged, and raw. Elevation expansions, because you've mentioned it, he's rough, rugged, and raw, but it's got that soaringness, and because of the rhythm and the clashiness of the beats, and it's not modern, it makes it so much better, more inspiring. And you mentioned Pete Cannon to me earlier, right? Love Pete. Pete's like resident at our Rave Story event. He's like feeds into all the old way of producing.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And his music has that energy in the same way that other people like T-Cuts and Swank Out and Arkin, who I play the old school rave but new, it always has to have that authentic edge.
Distortion is such an important part of our music. And, you know, when we used to mix things down, the board, you'd always have, you know, the kick drums clipping, this is clipping, and you'd think, oh God, you know, and you just think sod it, would go with it. And that's what created that energy, distortion. And now everything's so clean and so pure, there's just no energy. If you look at an old, you know, the old rock music, if you took one of them guitars without distortion, it's just ding, and all of a sudden you put it through the distortion, you know, it comes to life. So we had that energy and that rawness in all of our music, and it's sort of everything has been taken out. All that, the harmonics that were from harmonic distortions and this and that, and stuff not being quite in time, stuff not being quite in tune. Whereas everything now, everything's in tune, everything's perfect, and it just becomes, say, more and more sterile. And we are literally trying now, let's get this, let's knock that out a bit, let's get that synth, detune it, let's not have the vocal perfect, don't want it perfect, we want it to have something.
I take pride in going to any event and still being rough, rugged and raw, because I don't care how nice the sample pack is with all the nice kick drums and hats. My old school rave sets ain't being sanitized.
Exactly.
No one is.
Well done.
Whether that's in a house event, a jungle drum and bass event, wherever I go, you ain't sanitizing me.
Exactly.
And I ain't going to sanitize myself.
Yeah.
Like whether it's new music, old music, that's the way it is. Are you ever going to stop?
Oh no, never. Never.
Good.
No way.
And why can't you stop? Why can't you stop? I want in your words why you cannot.
Why I can't stop is because it's everything to me. You know, it's my life. You know, and I would lose 90% of myself. You know, what would I be if I stopped? I cannot imagine. You know, I'd just be sat on the sofa.
Yeah,
just rotting.
Do you believe in fate? Do you think it was fate that like,
oh God,
our starts are very similar, even down to Nitro Deluxe, our first intros. I'm not religious. I'm certainly spiritual. I'm certainly emotional about our lives and myself and my friends' lives. But I truly do believe that spirituality and fate is why we are here and what that start
everything
meant.
In my life has been fate. If I hadn't have met Gammer, like I can't. Even the hardcore scene would be so different today through that one meeting, through his ironing lady's son, and then it's like I just can't imagine where Darren Styles hadn't have carried the way everything just came together. I totally believe in fate, and it's the most extraordinary things that happen to me are all with a coincidence that you could never make up. You know, it's just beyond the mind. So whatever it is, it's just, you know, just incredible.
When I compare you in hardcore to Groove Rider and Fabio, that is like who you are. Did you ever think that, like, wow, your authenticity would influence so many people and be the sound of Darren and Hixxy and you and False and Gammer, and you really did have a huge influence, not just as a DJ, but a producer and an ear and someone who guided them all as well with your vision and your feeling.
Even hearing you say it, I take it in for a moment.
Remember, it's me saying to you, you're not
that
being
means, that and obviously means so much. But I think, and it's the same, I think, with all the people I really respect. It's, you know, we don't hold on to that. It's like the ego of it.
Yeah,
we appreciate it, but still find it hard to believe. And somehow it's like, oh, you know, come on, mate. You know, it's like we don't take ourselves too seriously, and I think that's what it is. You know, the second you believe that, that's when your career is going to be short-lived.
Yeah.
And, you know, you see these people, they're arseholes all the way up, and then they forget, you know, this famous saying, you've got to see these people on the way down. So,
because sometimes when we're out and people like say things to us or what we mean to them, it is hard for us to believe. It's sometimes it's really hard to take in, especially when you think about how endearing and humble your dad is and how you've been brought up. it does still feel
Yeah.
strange
It
to have
is.
people say, you changed my life with a tape
Yeah.
pack, or that track changed my life, or that set, or what you're doing on Spotify or Instagram really has like helped me through. And it is hard to take on, Paul, from when you think of like, not only did we have humble beginnings, I still believe that us lot are actually really humble people in the great scale of how big the world of dance and
Yeah.
has become. Yet here we are 35 years later and have lived the dream.
See, you know, the best. I think just, you know, you never forget where you come from, and looking at people like Camel Fat, you know, they've
Love them guys.
you know, oh my God. Now, when you talk about success
Yeah.
and what they're doing, private jets everywhere, and oh my God, they are so grounded. It's actually like you can't even get your head around it.
Yeah.
I mean, just not changed a grain.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
It's a buzz when we see people we've personally known and personally worked for be so
Yeah.
successful. Like I can see like you're smiling thinking of people like Darren and Camel Fat. I'm smiling looking at your excitement. And it and it is infectious, isn't it?
Yeah.
Things like one, being grateful for your own successes and your own failures and where that's led you to, but also being inspired by other people, especially your friends' success. It's such a big thing, and especially at our age.
Oh, totally. And when with like Mick, if I'm doing a tune, I can sort of send it to him. And I'm not talking like a week later, like within an hour, he's like going back to me, all right, this is great, you know, just try changing that. And he'll, you know, give me a little bit of mentoring if I'm doing something slightly different. And you think, God, you know, he's like traveling nonstop, and he's got time to drop that, you know, that quick text and have a listen to something, you know, just that sort of actually really does mean so much to me.
Yeah. Paul, I'm going to end on something, and I'm going to let you sum this up. Hardcore will never die.
That's it.
Will it ever die? From the mind and voice of Dougal?
No way. And I was thinking about this again on the way. Can you imagine, like, our music could be getting played by people in 1,000 years' time, going back and listening? Like, how mad is that?
It is mad.
Could it be in 20,000 years' time? It's like, it's always going to be there, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it was always such a poignant moment in time. People always look at history. You know, we talk about, you know, we always go back, and that is just mind blowing that our music will live on. I just want to know where I'm going to pay my royalties to when I'm gone. Where they're going to go? Right,
there you go.
To charity.
Paul, I love you, and I'm really proud, and I'm really happy that I asked you months ago to come on.
We did it.
And you had other things. You're like, no, I'm not going to tell him why you said you weren't coming, unless you want to tell him. No. And yeah, it's been an amazing journey.
Yeah, absolutely.
And let's hope we both have at least another 35 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love you. Boom.